Come for the bread, stay for the politics. I'm Ben Walsh, and this is Let's Meet Bread. Welcome back to Let's Meet Bread, episode 21, for a very, very special episode because I am joined by an incredible guest who hopefully will spend lots of time on this show, but, got to pressure her first. But before we get started today, we are going to be making a Japanese spring onion flatbread, and to help me make that, introducing my friend and yours, Mrs. Lauren Ashcraft. Hey, how you doing?
Hi. Oh my gosh, the misses is still kind of difficult.
You know what? If it makes you feel better, I had to get a little used to it myself. So
I know. I feel like I'm too young to have gotten married, but I'm in my 30s now, so I'm like, maybe I just got to grow up. But then again, I am wearing a Rugrats t-shirt. So.
I was gonna say I love it. Like I'm like looking here like I run a show and you're in a Rugrats. I love it. Perfect. It's amazing.
All
right, so let's get
on.
Oh, of course. My pleasure. I'm so happy to have you, especially because we have a great topic that we're going to talk about today. And we will get to it a little later. But first, you want to get started making some flatbread?
Yes, and I noticed mine is now foaming. My yeast is now foaming, so I don't know.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, you've got a little bit of okay, well, you're spoiling it a little bit. All right, so we're going to get started making our flatbread. We have half a cup of water here at about 105 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. And into that, we are going to pour 8 grams or 1 packet. For those of you in the imperial system, first of all, go metric, it's fun. And 2, that is 2 1/4 teaspoons. All right. Now that we've done that, we're going to actually, we're making a sponge. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to add 2 tablespoons of our all-purpose flour. And you're just going to sprinkle that on top. And we're going to give that just a quick little mix with the back of our spoon. And then we are going to just give this a quick stir. Trying to use as few tools as possible. I always like to see if we can do things with as few tools as possible and make it as accessible as possible. And that's actually a little bit of a spoiler for what we're talking about today: accessibility. Yeah. All right. All right. So that is almost ready. So we're gonna let this sit for about 5 minutes. But while we do, let's talk a little bit about who our wonderful guest is. So, Lauren, you also host a YouTube show. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
I do. It's called Biting Commentary, and I also have combined food and politics, so I feel like we're very much aligned here, my friend. But we do like a little taste testing of something interesting each episode, and then move into a topic that I wish there were more conversations about. So we've talked about disability rights and advocacy, how our culture is way too obsessed with money and climbing a ladder for what. I've had people come on and talk about, and these are experts, about how important the vaccine is right now, for example. So just topics that I wish were covered more, but since they aren't, I'm doing it.
Yeah, and you're doing God's work. I also made an appearance on the show. I was happy to be there. We talked about war. You know what's funny? Literally last week, I was doing a rant on the Afghanistan war. I was like, this will be like a 12-minute segment. We ran for like 34 minutes. I'm like, oh yikes! Yeah, but it's up there. It's out in the world now. So what are you gonna do? So
it ended up being very important and topical. And the day after was when everything went down, actually, which is shocking.
Yeah. A real nail biter to the end, actually, in the worst way possible. But it is what it is. But if you're interested, go check out Biting Commentary. Lauren has lots of great guests. Not to plug myself or anything, but she does have lots of great guests on, including some semi-famous figures in the left. So I highly encourage you to go find Biting Commentary on YouTube. She is live every Sunday at 8 p.m. And she'd love to have you. She has great conversations with her guests and with the people in the chat. So I highly recommend you go over and spend some time over there.
Thank you.
So, yeah, of course. So we have a little bit of a frothy, bubbly mess over here, which is okay because we are going to take. Yeah, so you can see a little bit. We've got there you go, perfect. Yeah, I'm kind of burying the lead a little bit here, but you can see our water's nice and cloudy. I've got some bubbles on the top. Now, we're using instant yeast, so if it happens to be that your yeast isn't particularly active, isn't moving around a ton, don't throw it out. It probably is just taking its sweet time. The name is for irony, I'm sure. But the difference between instant yeast and active yeast is typically we don't bloom instant yeast. So this is kind of a rare recipe where we do it, but we're going to play along for as long as we need to here. So we're going to add our liquid ingredients to our general mixing bowl here, just trying to make sure we get as much of our yeast and flour out here as possible. Make sure we don't waste anything because it will be a very dry recipe otherwise. All right, and once you've done that, we are going to add the rest of our ingredients. So the first ingredient we are going to add is we have 1 tablespoon of dark sesame oil. It's going to give a really lovely flavor. Let's just add that.
I'm doing this along with you, but I don't have this setup that you.
No, no worries. No, I appreciate. You were the first guest who I've done on camera to actually do the thing with me. Oh, it looks good. It looks good. Yeah, mine's not even a clear bowl, so you win on that one. So we're one-upping each other in different ways. All right, we're then gonna. Oh, thank you. We're then gonna add a 3/4 teaspoon of salt. I rough estimate mine because I have been doing this a while, but if you want to measure it, you are more than welcome to do so. I use kosher salt, but like for every other recipe we make, most regular salts, table salts, will do just fine. You don't have to worry about that if you don't have kosher salt. I just find it's kind of nice that way. So we've got a couple of things in. Just give it a quick stir. We want to encourage these ingredients to come together. And then the next ingredient is going to be the most important one other than the spring onions is our flour. So here we have 2 cups minus the 2 tablespoons we took earlier. So we're just going to pour this in here. All right. And just mix that together until it starts to come together. And right before it's totally combined, we're going to add our spring onions to make sure that everything combines really nicely.
Oh.
All right, so you can see here, it's not a ton of water, but it really is coming together. And there are lots of recipes where it looks like it's going to need more water. Be patient. Sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes it does, right? And you just go and you improvise. You take a little bit more water in. So this probably needs like another tablespoon of water. So we're just going to give it that.
Also, I love that you found a Japanese recipe.
Oh, of course. I had to. It felt right.
Mine definitely needs water too. I feel like it's
This might be a little bit of a dry recipe.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So if you need to add a little bit more water, whatever you do, don't add more oil. And the reason for that is because not because it's going to change the consistency or anything, but what it will do, it will fundamentally alter the flavor and it will taste very strongly of sesame. So feel free to add a little bit more water if you need it. And
sesame oil is a very strong flavor.
Yes, it is. And in fact, we've only used a tablespoon. My whole kitchen now smells of sesame oil. So it's just one of those things.
Yep.
All right, and then as we're mixing this together, we're going to put in 1/2 cup of our chopped spring onions, and you're going to work this into the dough to the extent possible. And there's moisture in these too, so that may help with some of the moisture, but probably not. If you do need more water, feel free to go get some. No recipe is innately perfect. And we're just going to give this a quick mix in our bowl here before we transfer it out onto our board where we will do some kneading.
Ooh, I'm glad you're also using your hands because my spoon no longer worked.
Yeah, I dodged the spoon like a minute or two ago. You know what? Honestly, I find that my hands are the best tools anyway, and it's just kind of enjoyable to do it this way.
Yeah.
I think we probably need a drop more water. I'll borrow from myself here.
This is just so lovely.
Yeah, and the thing is too, one of the reasons I love making flatbreads is because the expectations are literally and figuratively so low that you don't have to worry. Flatbreads are actually really forgiving. So as a dough, just in general, like you can play with a flatbread recipe and it really not be the end of the world.
Oh, great. I guess you don't have to be too concerned that it doesn't rise very much or something.
Exactly. Yep.
Why would they put yeast in a flatbread? I did wonder that.
So the reason it is likely there is so the yeast is it's going to add a tiny, tiny bit of flavor, but really what it's going to do is it's going to allow your dough to expand, which will allow you to have more dough to work with when you actually go to, work with it later on, once we've done our rise. Oh, I added just a touch too much water. So I'm going to put an 1/8 of a cup of flour on our board, and I'm going to start kneading.
Great.
So once you've moved your little dough to the board here, you're just going to knead with one hand. Now, usually on this show, we would do the window pane test to see if the dough is ready. But because of the nature of this dough, we probably won't be able to. So we're going to rely on our ability to tell if it's nice and tacky and soft. So we're going to knead until then, just being careful, making sure that we keep our onions incorporated. They will want to escape.
So like a little bit sticky is good?
Yeah, so we're working on tacky, right? So the difference between tacky and sticky is if I take my hand like this and I place it down on the thing, you can see that the bread actually starts to come up with my hand. We don't want that. We want it just enough so that when you put your hand on it, it feels like it's sticky, but it doesn't stick to you.
Oh, okay, mine might be perfect.
So that might be the consistency you want, but you want to make sure that you have really tested the fibers of this. So once you've kneaded it to where you think you need it to be, the way we're going to test it is we're not going to do the window pane test. We're going to use the poke test. So if the gluten is really developed the way it is supposed to be, when you push on it, it will spring back about 3/4 of the way. If it does not do that, it needs more kneading because that gluten has not developed sufficiently. Also, the dough should soften a little bit as you knead it. So that's another thing to look forward to as you're working it.
Oh, it did bounce back.
Yep. All right, so you actually might be in good shape. So if you want, make sure it's the right consistency. Make sure it's, your dough looks nice. Your dough looks great.
You're a very good teacher.
I'm jealous. My dough's not behaving that nicely. Goodness gracious. All right, so I'm going to knead this just...
that I have obliterated my yeast over here accidentally.
Your yeast is desperate to perform to you, but it knows what happens if it doesn't.
Yeah.
Right in the bin. All right, so I am almost done with this, and my dough has softened significantly, so it actually feels really nice right now. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to roll it up into a ball. We're going to use the same tactic we usually use, taking your hands in a cup motion, putting them underneath your dough, and using the stickiness of the dough to move it on to the board so it's nice and tight. And then we're going to poke it. And it comes up. Yeah, it's coming up. All right. So we're going to say this is done. I'm just going to move it back into a ball shape real quick just to make sure that it rises the correct way, because we just want it to rise into a nice little top ball.
Lovely.
Yeah, and then when you're ready, what you're going to do is you're going to take your bowl, your rising bowl of choice, and you are going to put about a teaspoon of canola oil in it, and you're just going to rub it around. And I'll show you how to do that in 1 second.
Oh, so don't put the dough in it yet?
Not quite. So we're going to take our bowl, and we're going to take our oil here. We're just going to put in about a teaspoon. You can eye it, just a very small amount. Really, you just want enough oil in here to coat the bowl very lightly. And on top of that, you want the dough to be sufficient, the oil to be sufficient so you can also cover your ball of dough in it. So really, we're not talking about, it sounds like a lot of oil, but it's really a tiny amount. All right, and I just use my hands because I can, and because it's so much easier than using a spoon or something to
I
do
just
it.
taste tested mine.
I was gonna say, yeah, I can't advise that, health and safety and all, but hey, you know.
Don't do it, kids.
You're married, you can do what you want. All right, so our ball of dough is in here. So what we need to do now is we need to cover it with a piece of cling film, and then I like to put a tea towel on top of that, and we're gonna set ourselves a timer for 1 hour, and then we are gonna have a fun chat about a very interesting topic on which Lauren is an expert. So we will be right back. I'm just gonna cover this up real quick, and I will be standing in front of you very shortly. Be right back. All right, so I have my plastic. You can cover it. If you have a more reusable option, I highly recommend you use it. This one you could actually use a lid for because it will not produce so much carbon dioxide that when you proof it with a lid for this one, it won't pop your lid off. So if you're using a lid typically for a bread recipe that's really intense, that's not a flatbread, sometimes it'll generate enough carbon dioxide to pop the top off. So in the middle of your discussion with whomever you're talking about, talking to, your lid will just fly off in the middle of an episode. So don't do that. So we're going to cover it with a tea towel and some plastic. We're going to set this aside, and we're going to set a timer for 1 hour.
I'm being nosy and looking at my dough because I'm impatient.
I was going to say, we are actually just going to go back to it. Yeah. How's yours looking?
It's definitely grown, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, you ready to move back to it? You want to do it?
I actually just really want to eat one.
I love your enthusiasm.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let's cut them up. Let's end the timer early. It's definitely grown.
Yay.
I'll do the big reveal like I always do.
Yay.
Bam! It has more than doubled in size. Look at this. This was a little baby when I put this in here. All right. Oh, and I can see that it's swelled up a bunch and it's a little jiggly. That's fun. It's gonna be great.
Mine is also definitely like maybe double. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's good. All right, so what we're gonna do now, and we will get you to the eating part of it soon, I promise. But first, we have to do the slightly less fun part of shaping it. All right.
Ooh.
So we're gonna take our dough, and we're gonna knead it because we put some oil on it, right? It hasn't absorbed the oil yet. We're gonna give it a quick knead just to kind of incorporate that last bit of oil to push out a little bit of that air, not so much, but just a little bit. We're just gonna get it back to its regular shape. Oop.
I'm good.
Almost lost you there for a second, Lauren. Was worried about you.
Yeah, I got my kneading was a little bit too fierce, I think.
All right. Well, just a little bit. We just want to get it back to its shape here, and then we're gonna let's see how much it weighs. I love to do things exactly. You don't have to. You can just start cutting it into 8. I'm gonna see how much it weighs and see if I can do this exactly. All right, 18. It divides really well by 8.
Okay.
It does not. All right, let's cut it in half and see if I can get it down to a more manageable. All right, close enough. That's 9, and this one should be 9 and change. All right. All right. So these don't have to be exact, which is nice. So just cut them up to the extent you want to, and you're going to make 8 of them.
Oh my gosh, I'm cutting mine like a pizza.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I'm just using the bench scraper to cut mine here. So once you have 8 of them cut, and I've stopped measuring because I stopped caring. If you want to keep measuring, you can measure. This is not advocating against measuring, guys. I'm just having too much fun. Not allowed. All right. So we have our 8. So what we're going to do now that we have our 8 is we're going to take one in our hand like this. We're going to put it down and we're going to roll it into a ball. So you're going to take yours, put it in the palm of your hand on the board, and just roll it. Use roll motion to get it into a nice little ball.
Oops, mine's a little bit stickier than before.
That's all right. As long as it's not, as long as the dough is not sticking to your hand. Remember, it'll be a little stickier, a little bit more moist because we put oil on it.
Oh, okay.
All right. So we're going to take the one we just did, and I'll do the rest off camera so that we can get to eating them. We're going to take it, and we're just going to smush it with our palm, and we're just going to make a nice flat pancake shape. And if you want to slap it down, that's what it sounds like you're doing. You can do that too. Let it spread out. And you're just going to flatten it out to the extent possible so it's a nice, even thickness. You can see it's not that big. It doesn't have to be huge. But if you want to, you can even get a roller out if you're so inclined, but minimize the number of tools we use, right? So just use the tackiness and make yourself a nice round flatbread.
Oh, it's
And at the end, it'll look something like this. There you go.
Mine's not completely round, but
That's okay. That's okay. Pulled a Biden real quick and just whispered for no reason. And also, if you don't like the shape of it, just roll it back up into a ball and try again.
Oh, I'm more
I actually do like the shape. Oh?
I was just gonna say I'm more concerned about the taste of it, which I think will be fantastic.
All right, so I'm going to tell you how we're going to do this. So, if you have one of these gorgeous babies, a cast iron skillet, what you're going to do is you're going to put a tablespoon of oil in this, and you're going to get ripping hot. So, the way that you tell this is I'm not going to cook on camera, but I will give you the baking instructions here. No one wants to hear my fire alarm go off on the show. So you want to take one of these guys, and you want to put a tablespoon of oil in it. And the reason the tablespoon is just enough so that it coats the bottom. You don't want more oil on there because you don't want it to pop or anything, okay? And we're going to add little bits of oil at a time. And once you're going to set it to medium-high heat on your stovetop, okay? And from now on, now that you've got it on there and the heat's on, you need to be really careful, okay? Because this gets really hot and it stays really hot. So you are going to heat this pan until it starts to smoke. And that's why I'm doing this off camera, because my smoke alarm will go off. If you have a vent, you should turn it on now. And you're just going to do it for like a minute or two on each side. Literally, you just want to get it cooked enough, the pancake, the flatbread on each side, just enough so that you can have it be a little golden brown, right? You don't want any more than that. And then flip it over and do the exact same thing. And then you're done, and you can move on to the next one. These actually cook really quickly. We're talking a minute and a half, 2 minutes on each side.
I'm going to show you guys.
All right. Oh, I love it. The real deal Holyfield. The real life sample.
Yes.
Lauren, this is your show now.
But it's going to take a little time, I guess.
Yeah, no, see, what you want to do is you want to get your oil in your pan nice and hot before you put it down.
Oops.
No worries. I know you're desperate to taste one of these.
Yes. Oh, that light is not ideal. Can you
No
still see me?
worries. I can still see you.
Okay, great. I definitely put it down too early because I didn't heed the warning. So
that's all right. So if you put it down too early, get yourself a paper towel or a cloth that you're comfortable putting on, or even just a plate, and just take it off real quick until your oil is hot enough.
Oh, see, this is why you're the expert here.
This is a solutions-based show, Lauren.
That's great. Oh, it's really sizzling now.
Oh, perfect. All right. So you just want to leave it there for like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Oh, you know what? If we had planned this could have been the thing you tasted next week.
Yum. Oh, did my light disappear?
Yes, I didn't know you were coming back. Yes, it did.
We'll get some light back here.
No worries. How's it looking?
Delicious.
Let's see.
Oh, geez. Bad at controlling this.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Side, yeah.
You said it's golden gold. It should be golden brown.
Yep, golden brown. Then you can take it off, or you can flip it over so that once you have golden brown on both sides, it will be good to go.
You have like a close up on my cooking tools.
Yeah, you want medium high heat.
Okay. I just flipped it.
All right, how's it looking?
It's sizzling.
Good.
I would say it's lightly golden brown. Lightly.
That's fine. Yeah, you don't need to burn it in order for this to work. So no worries there.
Looks delicious.
And to those who are wondering what I'm doing, I'm just shaping the rest of mine since I have the time, and Lauren has taken over as the maitre d' of the show. Let them eat bread with Lauren Ashcraft.
It smells really good.
Yeah, it should. And tell me what it smells like, because I can't smell it. What do you got over there?
It smells like bread. Like it smells like baking bread, but
Okay.
it smells like the green onions.
Do you still smell the sesame oil?
Yeah, the sesame oil and green onions.
Very nice. Very nice.
Lovely. It's all lovely.
Wonderful. Well, yours will be done in just a moment, and then we'll have to know how it tastes.
Oh, this is my dream.
When you go on someone's show and make it your own show. This is Tasting Things with Lauren Ashcraft, a subgenre of biting commentary.
Oh my gosh, do you usually you don't get to taste your stuff all the time?
No, I do not. No, this is a rare treat.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
I think the last time I tasted something was the matzah episode, because the whole thing had to be done in 18 minutes.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know if you've seen my matzah episode, but you should. It's very panicky.
I'm gonna go back and watch the matzah episode. It's so easy once you get them into the pancake shape, because they firm up really quickly and they flip really easily. Like I have a third one on there right now, and I'm just flipping it. It's so.
You have a third one? What happened to eating the first one?
Oh yeah, I was just letting it toast up a little bit more, but I think
No,
it's ready.
take your time. All right, let's do it. Let's see. Hold it up to the camera.
Actually, I'll take it back over here where I have some light.
All right,
I'll
sounds good.
I'll turn the heat off my stove so I'm not a walking hazard. Okay. All right, we're gonna do
The
it.
big reveal, yeah.
Do these
Oh wow.
It really looks lovely. It's like a lovely little. You found a wonderful recipe.
Oh, thank you. I think we need to add a couple tablespoons of water to it, but other than that.
Yeah. Ooh. Paul, you want to try this? This is awesome.
Oh, good.
Oh my gosh. I think I might have found like a new favorite recipe.
There you go. Uniting hearts, minds, and stomachs. That's what we do here.
You know what? Because this has scallions in it, it kind of reminds me a little bit, and it's so fluffy. I don't know if you can see it, but
Oh, well, yeah, I can. You can see the crumb on there.
yeah, it's lovely. If you put some cream cheese on it, not to like make it not Asian, but if you put some cream cheese on there, it might taste kind of like a bagel and scallion cream cheese.
There you go. Well, there's one more thing you can do with it. Speaking of things that you can do to this, before we close out the episode, if for some reason you're making these ahead of time, these freeze really well. If you're going to freeze them, I highly recommend that you stack. So all the ones that you want to freeze, you should stack and then double wrap them in foil. I know it sounds wasteful, but the double wrapping actually helps insulate it from the freezer and will keep it from being freezer burned for much longer. So you can store them as long as you want to. But ideally, I would say probably try and eat these within the next, if you do freeze them, I would say you probably have like a month or 2 months. but you definitely will not be able to resist making them, reheating them. And if you want to heat them back up, just chuck them in your oven, and probably like 350, 375, right? Just put them out on a tray, and you're just heating them, right? So you're not trying to cook them anymore. So just put them on a tray, and whenever they feel warm enough to eat, just take them off and have them with whatever you like.
Oh, they're so good. I'm like, this is such a good recipe. I'm so glad that I know it now.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you very much, Lauren, for coming on the show. I greatly appreciated you having you here. We will be in a moment. For everyone else, we will have another episode next week. I'm super excited to break with you again. Oh, one final note that I definitely should have made at the beginning. This episode is recorded, so I am not really here. Well, it's from the past. But anyway, I will be in the chat with you guys when it goes live. So if you are watching, if you have any questions, I will definitely do my best to answer them for you. And if you have any questions for Lauren, I will be happy to pass them along. And feel free to go back, watch the disability episode that Lauren did. It was incredible. And go subscribe to Biting Commentary, everybody. All right, that is our show. I will see you guys next week. Bye.